how did they make the pyramids? Like who did that?
Yeah.
Who did that, and what was that culture like?
Right.
Like, if I could go one place, I would go to Egypt, Giza, when it's thriving.
Yeah.
When it's thriving, whatever. I don't even know what the number is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's a John Anthony West number or if it's a, more conventional number of 4,000. Whatever it is, just get me there.
Right.
Let me see what that was.
Yeah.
What were you guys doing?
Right.
How the fuck did you make that thing? How did you get those stones from 500 miles away? How did you cut them so perfectly? How did you get them all the way up in the ceiling of this giant king's chamber?
Yeah.
What was that damn thing? Why did it have a gold cap on the top?
Right.
Like, what did you guys do? How did you make the gold cap?
Yeah,
like, what did you guys do?
It's wild. I go with the John Anthony West theory. I'm closer to his time frames.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, John Anthony West.
He was amazing.
Amazing man. Wow.
Yeah, Magical Egypt, folks. It's I think there's 2 versions of the video series that you can get online. Go find it. It's incredible. The first one I watched like 10 times.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just forget about speculation, forget about like timelines, just the undeniable majesty of the construction of those structures and the statues and like what they built was like, my God, like nothing else.
Yeah.
Like nothing else in the world. No one's even a distant second place.
No, not even close.
Egypt
it's wild.
Egypt can just stand above all of it, and it was so long ago.
Yeah, it's super ancient. And what I like about John Anthony West, his theory aligns with the Emerald Tablets date range, because when he talks about the Great Sphinx being built 2 processional periods back, it takes it back to around 38,000 years ago, around the same time that Thoth claims to have written the Emerald Tablets. And in these tablets, he talks about building the Great Pyramid. He said, "Builded I the Great Pyramid, patterned after Earth's force, so that it too might remain through the ages." So he claims to be the master architect of the structure of the Great Pyramid. And what he did was he incorporated into it advanced science. It's not just a power generator. It's also, in my opinion, it also could be a multifunctional stone computer. Okay? And this thing calculates the orbits of the planets in the inner solar system, which is crazy.
How's it do that?
Matter of fact, well, if I have some, can I open up this, just read some notes?
Yeah,
I got
definitely.
some incredible notes that I did, some math that I did
I'm
years
amazed
ago.
at how much you don't need notes. There's a few people that come on this podcast that blow me away without notes. I'm like, Terrence is one of them.
Yeah, he's one of them. Yeah.
Rhonda Patrick, she's another one of them.
I just want to get the numbers exact,
Okay.
So one thing, the equatorial circumference of the Earth can be calculated by the Great Pyramid, because the Great Pyramid itself is 1 by 43,200 scaled down. So if you take the Great Pyramid and scale it up 43,200 times, it fits directly inside the sphere of the Earth, and it touches the equator. Okay.
So meaning the dimensions of how the angles of it would fit inside of a sphere.
Inside of a sphere. It's a representation of the Earth in a pyramidal format. Okay. That's crazy. And if you multiply that by the base perimeter, you get 24,734.94 miles, which is roughly within 170 miles of the circumference of the planet Earth itself. Okay, which is wild. You can also calculate the speed of the Earth around the sun. So the Great Pyramid, basically you take a pyramid inch times 10 to the 8th power. It equals the speed of Earth around the sun. That's wild.
The problem with these kind of calculations is Flint Dibble made note of this, that you could take that and you could do that with a lot of different things. Like, what was the one he used for 420?
Yeah, he had 420 and 69 in it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different funny ones.
420,
yeah,
weed day?
the weed day, yeah. He was explaining how you take these arbitrary precession of the equinox numbers, and you could multiply them times like whatever you want, and you could get a bunch of different results, like based on what you wanted the result to be, not based on the actual
Some of them are hard to
calculations.
do. Check this out. Forget about multiplying things. What about taking the fact that the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, is located at the center of land mass on Earth? Not the center of the Earth, the center of land mass. Now, the only way you can put the pyramid at the center of land mass is you have to have a polar orbiting satellite. If we were to do it today, a polar orbiting satellite that's orbiting this way, and as the Earth spins on its axis, you're taking swaths of data, and you're calculating the land mass, and then you're going to say, okay, this is the center point for land mass, and you put it there.
So the center point for land mass being you take the surface of the Earth, what percentage of it is covered with water, where the ground is, and then you find the center of where the most ground is, and that's where the pyramid is.
Exactly. The next thing is taking all the average heights of all the peaks on Earth and then dividing that to get the average height and making that the height of the Great Pyramid. Now,
Whoa.
you can't just randomly calculate those numbers, okay?
That's the average height of all the mountains and the peaks on Earth?
That's right.
Wow.
That's right, and that's an absolute fact. The Grand Gallery, the latitude of the Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid leading into the King's Chamber, the latitude are the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. You can't just randomly calculate that one.
Well, you can't just get those stones down. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not one thing about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can get real crazy with numbers and mathematics, but there's not one thing about it that's not completely insane.
Yeah.
Like every single aspect of it is completely insane.
Yeah.
The fact that we still will try to pretend today that it's not impressive, or that it was impressive, but that they did it with sand and they did it with like.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Well,
Like,
you would
don't
need more.
know.
You would need more mud the mud ramp theory. You would need more mud in mass than the pyramid itself. So that's a farce. You
The
know?
mud thing, I mean, it's like, just show me one.
Yeah.
Show me one. Just
Well, here's the problem with that mud ramp theory. I don't think people realize. I take people on tour to the pyramid every single year. I take people on a huge tour. Last year we had 140 people on tour in Egypt for 12 days or whatever it was. But the pyramid itself, each individual stone at the pyramid, excuse me, each individual stone at the pyramid is a different shape and size. There are no two stones that are perfectly the same. Each stone fits in an interlocking format. So you can't say, go over here and cut these stones. We're going to bring them over here and we're going to throw up this pyramid. It doesn't work that way. Each stone is made individually, specifically for the location that it's exactly in.
because they all have to be at an angle. Because they're all going up towards this angle, so
and
everyone has to be
interlocking.
cut perfect.
Exactly. So they're interlocking stones, and there's no way to say just cut this cookie cutter out, and we're going to bring him and hoist him in
And
the
all
spot.
of them are perfect.
All of them. And if you accidentally cut the wrong size or you're off by a few inches, you can't make the pyramid. You can spend a week or two getting a stone to a location that don't fit. It doesn't make any sense. They had foreknowledge. People don't take the amount of resources, energy, and effort that it took to build that structure and then guessing that it will work out in the end. You only build that if you have a complete blueprint and you've got proven facts, right? You have proof of concept that it works and you've done this before.
Now, what do you think about the other pyramids that are wonky? Like the ones that aren't perfect? Do
Yeah.
you think that they were trying to duplicate the Great Pyramid? Do you think they were trying to make their own?
The deeper you go into antiquity, the more perfect construction was. The further you come forward in time, the more wonky and crazy things are and begin to fall apart.
So do you think they just forgot how to do it?
The knowledge was lost. You can see the evidence of the knowledge. By the time we got to Alexander the Great, have you ever been to Alexandria?
No.
I thought I was going to go see this incredible place. It looks like a bunch of crap, a bunch of piled up rocks, buildings leaning on each other, even the people living in apartments that are leaning, buildings leaning.
Oh, wow.
Everything there looks just, the stones are small. I could pick up those stones with my own hands. They tried to duplicate the majesty of ancient Egypt, but they didn't even come close.
It's just so bizarre that one civilization got so much further than everybody else.
Yeah.
And no one really knows exactly how they did it.
Right. Light years ahead.
Now, when you hear the carbon dating of the Great Pyramid, what is your take on that? Because the radiocarbon dating is 2,500 BC. Now, the Great Pyramid of Giza is probably the most stunning of all these ancient structures. And the stones are immense, and some of them were cut from a quarry that's hundreds of miles away. How do you think they did that?
Well, some of them, the granite in the Great Pyramid comes from more than 500 miles to the south. If you look at the famous King's Chamber, its walls and its roof are, the ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
Stunning detail.
Stunning detail. Those blocks on the roof of the King's Chamber weigh 70 tons each. Now, Egyptologists will tell you that, they could move heavy blocks because they put them on wet sand and they push them along on wet sand. Well, maybe if you're just at ground level, that will do. But when you're 350 feet above the ground, as you are in the King's Chamber, that won't do at all. I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it, how they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology. And it was this ancient apocalypse 12,800 years ago that wiped that from the human memory banks almost completely, not entirely completely because there were survivors, but removed most of it. Randall will tell you, sea level rise, it creates a powerful high energy zone. Mm-hmm. Anything that was existing on those flooded coastlines has just been pounded to hell. I mean, talk about it, Randall.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot more energetic than now. I mean, imagine your sea level rising at 3 or 4 times at least faster than we've seen rise in the last century. And within there, juxtaposed are these episodes of very rapid sea level rise. So you're talking about a very energetic intertidal zone. And anything that's there, short of large megalithic blocks, is going to be utterly obliterated by the time the process is through. And I think that this is one of the things that, you know, the archaeologists and the prehistorians, people are looking at that, have failed to take into account the severity of these events we're talking about. Because the question always is, where are the artifacts? Where's the pottery? Where is the evidence that this civilization existed? And I have 2 responses to that. One, you don't realize the extent of the total remodeling of this planetary surface that took place. Because, I mean, we could get into some of the stuff here. I have tons of images where I think maybe we'll get a chance to pull up a couple of really awesome drone footage here before we're done. But once you begin to wrap your head around this, you go, really? You know, it's like, imagine that you drop an atomic bomb on a city and it completely obliterates it. And then a short while later, you drop another one on the same place. What's going to be left? And then 10,000 years, 20,000 years goes by. What are you going to what are you going to find? What are you going to look for? You know, it's going to be just rubble that gets reincorporated just into the geological stratum, and it's going to be very difficult to differentiate, for example, from what's called a conglomeratic rock, which is basically we have just a huge jumble of broken rock cemented together. Right? Now, within there could be all kinds of stuff that's not even recognized as being artificial in the sense that humans had anything to do with it. The other thing is when we talk about these ancient technologies, if we're only looking for a mere reflection of ourselves, we could overlook it completely, because I think there's evidence that exists now. I mean, some modern researchers whose work has been buried or suppressed, I think we're getting very close to rediscovering some of the things that our ancient ancestors were up to. And maybe this would be worth a whole show in itself. We could dive into this, and I don't want to get into that today.
But what kind of technologies are you talking about?
Well, I shouldn't really get into that.
Get into it.
Get into
Come
it,
on.
Randall.
We got to get into it.
Okay, well.
We've opened the door, sir.
Okay. Well, okay.
The passing of the HDMI cable.
The passing.
A sacred moment.
Well, there are people out there now who have been working on trying to rediscover that. And again, I don't want to digress too much into this now, because I would really rather be able to give a whole treatment of it, and it might kind of derail us a little bit from this. But there are people who've been working on these things for decades now, basically in secret. And I've had the privilege of talking to some of these people over the last 6 or 7 years. And right now, as we're speaking, there's a group of people who are basically going to open source a whole lot of stuff in the next 3 months, so it can never get suppressed again. And that's why I'd like to come back and talk in more detail.
Well, I'd love to have you come back and talk about it, but we got to talk about it a little bit now.
Okay. Well, there's a laboratory right now in the Maldives that's been building prototypes using these technological principles, which are based on implosion rather than explosion. And the inspiration for this...
Tesla's ideas are part of it, I think you mentioned.
Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. Yes, Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. So is, I don't know if you ever, Victor Schauberger, who did the work with water and discovered, look at, Jamie, could you look up Victor? Oh, I have the cable now, don't I?
Take it back. Let me find a video.
Well, no. Let me pull something up here, and
I think the key thing is we're looking at technologies that are not the same as ours.
Yes.
And that's
Yes,
partly
that's the
why
point.
archaeologists can't see them, because they're looking for us in the past, and they're not open to the possibility that there are whole other kinds of technology that could be used.
Right.
I always go back to the ancient Egyptian traditions that speak of priests chanting as these huge blocks were lifted into the air? Were they using some kind of sound effect, some kind of use of sound that was able to manipulate matter? We know that sound can manipulate matter, as a matter of fact, but they're lifting these blocks. Again and again, it appears in ancient Egyptian traditions. The notion that we could lift huge blocks with sound seems absurd to archaeologists, and yet it's there in the traditions of the Egyptologists. And what Randall's talking about now is people who are working on a whole alternative path of technology, and maybe that's a rediscovery of the kind of technologies that were used by a lost civilization.
I think that's what's important about what you're saying, is that we have this very limited idea of technology based on what we've experienced.
Yeah.
But if you had anatomically similar human beings that lived for thousands and thousands of years.
Stuff just keeps on getting older.
If you think about the amount of progress that we've achieved as modern humans just in the last few hundred years, if you go back 400 years to now, it's a stunning amount of achievement.
Absolutely stunning.
And if you have a completely different path of technology, one that's not utilizing internal combustion engines and cranes and the like that we experience
leverage,
today.
Mechanical advantage, everything that our tech is based around.
Something that's insanely advanced, tens of thousands of years of a different path.
Yeah.
And that may be what we're looking at.
And that may begin to explain these otherwise inexplicable monuments that have survived.
Jamie, do I need... There we go. This is the work of Nikola Tesla. And he was... Again, this is way too much for us to get in today. That's why we need to devote a whole session to talking about this.
Okay.
But this is this was the inspiration. You know, his work was suppressed. A lot of his patents were taken, sealed up by the U.S. government for whatever reason. I don't know. But this is some of the stuff that's now being developed using his ideas plus some of the others. This is the man I've been talking to for the last 7 years.
Malcolm Bendall?
Yes. And again, I don't want to get into it today, but like, here's an example of what they're doing. This is a generator that has no moving parts. It's all based on geometry, pure geometry. Mm-hmm. And here's the basic idea, as I think I understand it at this point. Resonance frequencies. Everything vibrates. Have you ever, like if we had an electric razor, we plugged it in, turned it on, set it on this table, it's going to move around, isn't it? You ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the concept because it's vibrating. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things. And I think that's the basic idea of what we're looking at here. And it's all based upon the ancient numbers. And they're developing technologies right now, and they have been. I was recently contacted and given the go-ahead that I could talk. I've been sitting on this for 7 years without talking about it because they asked me not to talk about it until they had their patents in place and their licensing. That's all happened since last summer. So we're now free to talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. I think it would be a good idea to get me back on here. We can look at it. I'm going to lay this on Graham so he can look at it too, because I really want to get Graham's feedback on this.
I mean, would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
Yeah.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
And even transport them? Whoa,
Yes.
what is all this?
Well, this is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that recur over and over and over again, that I've been talking about in my sacred geometry classes for decades without knowing what the final result was going to be. So this inventor who's working with this small group contacted me, and this is what he told me. He said, you built the foundation. He said, you laid the foundation with your work on ancient geometry, and I built a house on top of it. That's what he said.
Nice.
So for 7 years, he's been supplying me with all the information. I have copies of all the patents. I have videos of the testing of the prototypes. And Mazda the car manufacturer in Japan is getting ready to do a $25 million testing of some of these prototypes that they believe they can retrofit internal combustion engines with. And there's over 100, they've developed over 100 patents on some of this stuff. And it's amazing.
And what would be the fuel?
Well, plasmoids. Plasmoids, as it says here, are donut or toroidal-shaped clusters of net protons or net electrons that once captured and placed into a toroidal orbit are capable of absorbing, storing, and releasing enormous amounts of energy within their self-generated and structured electromagnetic containment field. Plasmoids, in effect, function as an atomic battery that can be self-charging due to its ability to convert matter to available clean energy. So it's a lot to get into, and I think it would take us kind of off what we're here to talk about today.
At least what's promising is that there is some, at least, research or understanding.
And it's actually quite mature at this point. And in order to avoid the kinds of fate that befell Tesla and Reich, Robert Oppenheimer, Victor Schauberger, and so many others that were working in these fields, all kind of converging on this same insight. It's been conducted in secret. The laboratory that they've been developing this is in the Maldives, so that it's been immune from government interference. And now I think it's about ready to go to the next.
And what is the motivation of the suppressing of this information?
I think in case of Tesla, wasn't it military, the fear of military applications?
I also think that, there are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology, which is ours.
Right.
And for somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them. And much better from their point of view to suppress it, or if they can't suppress it, to kind of buy it and hide it, and keep things on the track that they're on now. I would say that's the motive.
And maybe for people that are curious about this and maybe even skeptical, consider the massive change that nuclear power provided us. Whereas before the 1940s, this was unheard of.
Yeah.
This even the concept of it. And all of a sudden now we have nuclear power, nuclear weapons, the most profound power known to man currently.
God help us, it's a power for use by adults, but unfortunately it's delinquent children who are leading our world right now. The leaders of our planet, the politicians out there, they're just complete arseholes. I can't think of any of them who I feel any respect for whatsoever. And it's they who are in charge of this frightening, terrifying technology. We just aren't mature enough as a civilization to manage technology like that. You have to get that level of maturity.
Talking of pyramids, dude, this new pyramid shit that's just come out?
Oh, this is insane. Yeah, I was going to send this to you as well, Jamie. I'll send you one of the most comprehensive breakdowns of it on X because it's quite stunning. So apparently, through the use of LiDAR, they have discovered that there are enormous structures underneath the Great Pyramid that go kilometers deep into the earth with coils. So enormous pillars, and then these coils. They don't understand what it is because they're just looking at LiDAR images. But whatever this is a uniform structure. There's several pillars, and all of this is like very, very, very weird.
Yeah, it's 600 meters descending down those cylinders, and then there's more stuff below it, and then there's additional structures inside of it. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's really crazy. There's a guy, Jay Anderson, and he did a breakdown of it. Maybe this would be good. We could play this. It makes a little more sense when someone's explaining it to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need somebody that's an expert here, not me and you.
Zawi Hawass, by the way, has said it's nonsense. So I don't know.
Already?
Yes. According to Graham Hancock. This is the wonderful thing about having Graham Hancock.
I texted Graham yesterday. I was like, yeah, what's going on with this?
Yeah, so click on that and go full screen, please.
How significant of a discovery this is.
Dun, dun, dun. I love the music. And geometry, so you know it's real.
You got to appreciate the dramatic intro.
Project Unity.
What has just been announced in relation to the pyramids at the Giza Plateau and the plateau itself is so incredible, so awe-inspiring and narrative-shattering that I have been sitting here for the last hour trying to wrap my head around the implications of what we were just told. So this is pretty much breaking news because the new findings were announced on the 16th of March at a press conference held by the team who were studying the Great Pyramid of Giza with a non-invasive technology that was first developed by Filippo Bionde and Corrado Malanga called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography.
Fuck, that's a
This
mouthful.
was used to explore the internal
Chiropractor
structure
talk.
of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And this method leverages the analysis of micro movements typically generated by background seismic activity to achieve a high-resolution full 3D tomographic imagery of the pyramid's interior and subsurface components. The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock, in fact over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep, deep down. This is what we know so far.
What does your friend think about it?
Which friend?
The one that you said it's bullshit.
Oh, that's not my friend. That's Zawi Hawass.
Okay.
Zawi Hawass is the head of antiquities in Egypt. He's like the head guy that talks to the archaeologists and gives the official narrative. In the past, he's been extremely hostile to Graham Hancock, but Graham Hancock and him have now become friends.
Oh, yes. I
And
do
they're
know this guy.
Coordinating. Graham is a lovely guy. People that like are enemies with him just need to get to know him and hang out with him. He's a genuine, real human being who's trying to find the truth. And was it a specific idea? Was it the idea specifically to look under the pyramids, or was this something that was discovered accidentally?
Okay, yes. Once we discovered this method, it was a coincidence that I knew Corrado Malanga. At that time, we are in 2018, he was studying the pyramids. And so we were talking about something that if there was some methods able to scan inside the pyramids, because he needed some information to conclude the research that he was doing. And so I proposed him to use my technique, and we started to work together. And so we focused in that time on the pyramids.
And when was this? When was the first scans?
Yes, in 2019.
In 2019.
Yeah.
And when you got the data back, did you immediately get the data that you're showing today, where you see the columns with the coils around it?
Okay. Let's say that this research can be divided by two. The first one, 1.0, we were concentrating research on the Khnum Khufu pyramid, the Cheops pyramid, to watch inside the pyramid. And so we have tailored our processing to watch only inside the pyramids, because that pyramid, only one pyramid, because we were doing that kind of research. Then once we discovered things in 2020, we published a peer review paper, and we gave public the results that we found inside the Khnum Khufu pyramid. We decided to expand our research in all the Giza plateau.
Can I stop you there? When you looked into, so we know quite a bit about the Khufu pyramid and what the chambers are inside of it. Did this technology accurately describe the pyramid itself and the insides of it, the chambers that we know exist?
Absolutely, yes. Because we have detected this multi-layer structure that is inside the Khnum Khufu pyramid, the so-called Z. We have discovered it very well from the space, and it is located inside the pyramid. And also we discovered that we gave an image also of the other known structures like the Grand Gallery.
The Grand Gallery.
The Grand Gallery. And then also the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber also. So,
and accurate in terms of size and dimension.
And also position and location.
Okay. So when did you decide to focus below the pyramid?
Yes. We decided to focus below the pyramid because our intention was to expand our research. And then also thanks to the third component of the research group, which is Armando May, he suggests us to expand our research and scan all the Giza Plateau. Yeah.
And so what date was it that you discovered these immense columns with the coils around it and all those structures that are underneath the pyramid?
Yes. In the second part of our research, we started focusing our scans on the Khafre pyramid and like Khnum Khufu. And then we adjust our algorithms to go deeper. And so when we did this, very nice things began to appear on our results.
What did you feel when you first saw those images that do appear to be immense columns? I believe the diameter is 20 meters.
20 meters.
So
20
they're
meters.
huge, enormous columns.
Yes.
What went through your mind?
Skepticism. I told also Corrado was with me because we had those results in our desk without disclosure or anything for 6 months, because my opinion was that was not real. I was thinking that maybe it was noise or some artifacts due by our processing procedures.
Did it give you pause at all that they were so uniform, that these columns were in very specific places and that they lined up, there was a uniform gap in between them?
Yes. And why we disclosure this? Because we started to use also other satellites. And once we, at the beginning, we were using only the Italian satellite system it is Cosmos Skymed, and Cosmos Skymed second generation. It's very good, very precise. But we wanted to shift our research using also other satellites because, Joe, in research, when we have diversity is a good thing because it confirms other things that we were searching. We were searching confirmation. So once we had the same results while we was using American satellites called Capella Space and also other satellites having always the same results, we decided to disclosure.
How many different scans have been done on this area?
200 or 300, more than 200.
More than 200, and all with uniform results?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
There's a lot of resistance to this, and it's from the usual characters. And it's from people that I would characterize as gatekeepers of archaeological information. And unfortunately, they are not willing to approach this with an open mind. And you see this skepticism that just seems to me to be confirmation bias. They want this to not be true, regardless of the sheer number of scans and the uniformity of the results of these scans. And also the fact that this stuff has been proven to work on other things. Like, didn't you guys use this exact technology to get the exact dimensions of a particle collider that you have?
Yes. We have a particle collider where I have born in L'Aquila, which is located in the center of Italy, at the center of Italy. There is a huge mountain called Gran Sasso, the Gran Sasso d'Italia, which is has a maximum altitude of about 3,000 meters, for being precise, 2,993 meters. And so there is a tunnel, very long tunnel, about 11, 12 kilometers. And in the core of this mountain, there is a particle collider. There is a laboratory, let's say like that.
And this technology got the exact dimensions of this particle collider that's
Absolutely,
deep
yes.
in this mountain.
Yes,
Okay.
at 1.4 kilometers with respect to the top.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know it's accurate. We know it works.
Yes.
What do you think it is? I mean, other than what I said, that it's gatekeepers of archaeological information. It's people that don't want to admit that there's perhaps a quite a bit bigger mystery than just the pyramids themselves. What do you think it is that is causing this resistance?
Personally, it's true. We found a lot of resistance. Yes, it's true. But personally, I don't know why. I can say something regarding to my personal opinion. Joe, it is something that maybe is too big, too huge to be disclosed like that today. I don't know why.
It's confusing to people because
Yes.
it's essentially paradigm shattering, because the pyramids themselves are absolutely spectacular. The Great Pyramid is 2,300,000 stones.
Yeah.
The alignment is to perfect, true north, south, east, and west. It's a really incredible accomplishment, whoever built it and when they built it. It's just undeniably fascinating that this was done at the very least 2,500 BC, probably even older than that.
Older, yeah.
We really don't know. But that alone is spectacular. But then when you add the findings that you have, it just makes everybody go, we don't know anything. We really don't. We know that these things exist, but their purpose has always been speculative. The speculation was that it is some sort of a tomb. But that doesn't make any sense because there's no hieroglyphs inside of it. It doesn't seem like a tomb. It doesn't look like a tomb. And I'm sure you're aware of Christopher Dunn's work.
Yes.
Which, he's an engineer, and he said it appears that this thing is some sort of a mechanical thing, and that it's probably designed to generate some kind of power.
Yeah. Yes, in this context, I have spoke a lot with Christopher Dunn, and I like a lot his theory, and it makes sense, and so this discoveries matches a lot with his and also to other scientists that make recast the effective purpose of the pyramid not to be tombs. So today we are sure of one thing, that the pyramids are not tombs.
They're not tombs. And what is truly spectacular is that if this data is accurate, those immense structures that have baffled mankind forever are just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
That's just the top.
Yes.
And underneath it,
There is.
you have these immense structures that we have not yet fully explored, but you have data that shows that. Let's look at the images. Let's pull up some of the images so people can see what we're talking about. Because once you see it, your mind just goes, okay, what are we even talking about? Like, what was this civilization? When did it exist? And what kind of technology would allow them to not just construct the pyramids, which is absolutely baffling, but if this structure that is underneath the pyramids is accurately described by your work, we're looking at something that it is going to have to change our entire perspective on the history of humanity. There was an ending of civilization and a rebirth of it, and that what we're looking at is some incredible technology that humans had invented a long fucking time ago, and that's what's responsible for all these structures that we don't understand. Like the ones in Mexico are crazy, man. They didn't know. They just uncovered those. I didn't know that until like not that long ago.
These were.
I thought the Aztecs built all that shit.
Well, think about all these things that they're finding now. Like I've seen recently, like all these pyramids they're finding in Antarctica, and
Well, I know that there's one
these
mountain
or
that
in China,
is odd looking.
Yeah,
No,
the
there's-
odd looking nature of it. There's like domes and like
It looks like a
points
pyramid.
underneath.
It looks weird. That one looks weird. There's a bunch of them in the Amazon that look really weird.
Like when they do the LiDAR underneath the riverbed, there's like civilization under there. There's like true civilization in certain areas of the Amazon.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine, Luke Caverns, who goes and explores these things all the time. And we were actually just talking about one of them that I think is in Peru. I sent it to him and I asked him, I said, hey, is this legit? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Not only is it legit, but you can't get there. Like, it's a really hard place to visit. It's almost impossible to get there, and no one's really looked into it in terms of, like, here it is. I found it.
So would they do it overhead?
Well, they have images of it, and you look at the image and you're like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, this is weird. Like, the image here, I'm
like full civilization along the bank.
Well, it's in
And
the
in the
middle.
water.
I think it's deep in the jungle, and I think it's very difficult to get to. But the thing is, a lot of the jungle, a lot of the Amazon, a lot of this stuff is, there's areas where people don't necessarily know how many people were living there 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. It could have been like densely packed. Like, look at that.
That looks like a densely packed area with people.
What the fuck is that? Like, that does not look, that's the AI version. But go back to that. That's a real picture. Bro, that does not look natural at all. It doesn't match anything around it.
That's crazy.
It looks like something that someone built. It
100%.
doesn't mean that it's something that someone built, and it might just be that angle, right? If you look at it from the other side, it might look like bullshit. But
Yeah,
from
but
that
no matter
angle
what,
right there,
there's angles of, there's isosceles right there. There's there's triangular situations going on, like.
they're saying, but it said in that image.
But it don't
that
look like it's 4
geologists-
sides. It looked like 5 side. Boom, boom, boom.
It's hard to
boom,
say.
Boom.
No, it could be 4. It just could be 4. Because where it is,
Oh,
if you
yeah,
just
it's
reverse
angled
it,
that
you just
way. Yeah, you're
reverse
right,
what you're
you're
saying.
right, you're right.
So it says geologists refer to this formation as Cerro Elcano, attributing its sharp angles and pyramid-like structure to the slow, patient work of wind, rain, and erosion over countless centuries. Or someone built it. Like, if you're not exploring it and you're saying that this thing that looks just like a pyramid, you think it was made by by slow, patient work of wind and rain.
But there's no other rock around it. Why didn't the patients happen there? This is a straight
This
up
don't make
plain.
it doesn't make any sense.
This is a
That's-
jungle plain.
That looks like a person built it. Those are right angles, and it's covered with bushes. So you got to think, like, what did it look like when it? And they haven't gone and checked it out. I'll tell you what Luke said to me, because Luke is actually an expert in this stuff. This is what he does. He goes and visits these places. And he was telling me, it's like, this stuff is so strange because there's a bunch of these kind of structures that are in the jungle. All of them haven't been explored, and there's a lot of resistance. He says it's deep in uncontacted tribe land. There's a small river that can get you within a 25-mile mark. He said it's crazy out there. So it's just like you just have a really difficult time in getting to it. I mean, there's a river that can get you within 25 miles of it. Like, okay.
And then what?
And then you got to walk through the jungle, 25 miles to get there. What does it look like on Google Earth?
Middle of nowhere.
What does it look like, though? Get that.
I'm just showing like the.
I know, but
the
get that
vastness.
stupid little dot off of it.
It's right at the border of Peru and Brazil.
Bro, what's under there? I want to know what's under there. Boy, that does look like a fucking pyramid, man. That looks like a pyramid that's covered with bushes.
Yeah, out in the middle of nowhere.
They find all
Those are other
kinds
ones.
Yeah, look at that. It's in a similar line, and there's.
It looks like
3
it's
of
in
them.
a pattern of a star in the sky.
Right,
The
like
tree,
the Great
the
Pyramids
3,
are.
boom, 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 and then that.
Yeah, it's weird. Oh, here's another one. Did you see that they think that there's a second Sphinx in Egypt?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've done scans of this area where a second Sphinx would be, and there's something under the sand that's the size of a Sphinx. So
Would it be next to the original one?
It's in the same area, like the same area. So you have your pyramids, and then there's a Sphinx, and on the opposite side, there's another Sphinx.
But the Sphinx isn't the Sphinx. It was something else. The face was something else, right?
They think.
They
think
think.
the face was a lion's face, and then
Well, like that
pharaoh-
dog, that like
a pharaoh
long
had a
dog, the long snouted dog that they have.
Could be. I don't think they think it's that, though. I think they think it's a lion. And so there's one exactly opposite of it.
I mean,
And so this one, what does it look like when they show that image, the scan?
I mean, I don't think there's anything there.
But what did the scan say?
I don't.
Would you scroll up? See, that's a scan. And it said something above it. It said, scans hinting at complex megastructure beneath the Giza Plateau. And so satellite images of the Giza Plateau reportedly captured this dune, which the signal processing researcher claims measures approximately 108 feet tall. The first Sphinx sits slightly below the surrounding surface in a shallow depression, so it's quite possible the second Sphinx could be hidden beneath this higher mound. So it's in the right position where a second Sphinx would be, because I think
Side
the
by
Sphinxes
Would they be side by
appear-
side?
No, I don't think so. I think it's like the pyramids are in the center, Sphinx going that way, Sphinx going that way. I think that's the idea.
got
Does
it.
Sphinx appear in pairs more than once? Would they looking for it because that's a normal like setup? Like, what's the normal configuration of sphinxes? Yes, sphinxes frequently appear in pairs in ancient Egypt, Greek, and Roman art, often acting as guardians in pairs or long avenues at temple entrances rather than as solitary monuments like the Great Sphinx.
I mean,
which
that makes sense, right?
But they would-
if they're
those-
facing opposite ways, also, the one's guarding the exit,
Exactly.
one's both entrances.
They were
Exactly.
pretty far away from each other, though.
Right, but far in relative position to how far the Sphinx is from the pyramids in the first place.
Well, then we'd have to ask, like, do they appear in pairs far away from each other, not next to each other? Because that's sort of saying, like, they're guarding doors next to each
Well,
other.
there's
like two
guarding-
lions
I
and two
understand, but-
gargoyles and-
Or just entrances. If there's two entrances, you need them.
Well, let's put that into perplexity. Ask it when sphinxes appear in pairs, what is the configuration? What is the configuration? What configuration? So maybe it'll tell us there and give us maybe they are like right next to each other, and then this doesn't make any sense. In both Egyptian art and architecture, sphinxes very often appear in pairs, usually flanking an axis, such as a road, doorway, or staircase. Right, so like two in front of a doorway. Temple approaches, rows are pairs of sphinxes, commonly line the processional roads, with one on each side of the central path. So usually like on two sides of a door. Gateways and doorways, pair of sphinx. Orientation idea. Modern popular writers often say one faces east and the other faces west. Okay, well that's different.
That's what they would have found.
So it's possible that they did it in several different ways, but often in twos. So if they do have one big
probably
sphinx and there's
four.
another,
Maybe there's
Yeah,
four
well,
of them.
but it's pulling that from a Facebook post talking about this potential second one.
oh,
so it might have just made
interesting,
that up,
interesting.
too.
So it might be horse.
Just a grain of salt with it is all.
Right. We won't know until they get in there. But if it is there and it's just under sand, that's not that big of a deal because they had to uncover this one. When this
How
one
long does it take to excavate these things?
it'll take a while. I mean, there's a lot of sand.
Like,
But it depends on how many
10
workers,
years?
how many machines. Also, they have to do it carefully.
Oh, my, they
because you
can't
want to make
fuck-
sure you don't fuck up the Sphinx. But if there is a Sphinx under there, that would be fucking nuts. They found a second Sphinx and they dug it out and they're like, oh shit.
Look at that Sphinx.
Ooh, titties.
Lady's head.
With one titty.
the nurturer.
That's weird. What a weird head. Like it's got pointy ears, right? Are those ears pointy or is that just where the hair goes?
Hair.
How weird.
Veil.
When people ask me about the best thing that I did in my life, I say two things. Number one, that I restored the Sphinx. I brought the proportions of the Sphinx back. And I restored the oldest pyramid in Egypt, the Step Pyramid. It was falling down. In 14 years, I made major important conservation and restoration. And I tell people, why do we have to fight all the time about the age of the pyramid? We have to fight, or we have to cooperate, all of us, to restore these monuments. And the most important thing is for me always is conservation. And I dedicate most of my life not only to the excavation, but to conservation.
What do you think the arguments are that predate that try to push the date back of the construction of the pyramids?
I never heard of this.
You've never heard of this
No,
before?
it's only new. It's a theories
Right,
from
but-
the New Age.
But I
No,
know I
no,
saw a
no.
debate with
Yeah.
you. I saw a debate with you and Graham Hancock, and there was another archaeologist.
That was
But hold on. The other archaeologist was saying, if you're saying that something happened 10,000 years ago, where's the evidence of any civilization from 10,000 years ago?
Exactly.
But then you found Göbekli Tepe. So Göbekli Tepe was buried over 11,000 years ago.
That's not true. I never heard about this.
What do you mean it's not true?
It's not true what I told you.
What is not true?
It never happened.
Tepe?
We never discovered this at all.
Wait a minute. Göbekli Tepe is in Turkey. Okay.
Oh, in Turkey. Listen.
Yes. Göbekli Tepe is in Turkey.
I know.
It's
But
more
listen.
than 11,000 years old.
Okay, fine.
It's
fine.
very complex stone structures.
Fine.
But this was the evidence.
We are
hold on.
No.
This is the evidence in the argument. The argument was there was no evidence of an ancient civilization from 10,000 plus years ago. This is before the discovery of Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe gets discovered known to be more than 11,000 years ago. That changes everything. Because
No.
now we know. Yes, it does.
That's
Because
changed
now,
for
hold
what?
on. Because now we know there was an advanced civilization capable of a spectacular construction 11,000 plus years ago.
This is what. Listen. Look at the archaeologists in Turkey or in any civilization.
Okay.
They never talk about old civilization.
That's not true. Göbekli Tepe is universally accepted as being
Joe,
more than 11,000 years
I
old.
am talking now about Egypt. I'm not
No,
going
I
to
understand,
another
but the
civilization.
argument was that there was
What
never any ancient civilization capable of spectacular construction 10,000 years ago. Now that they showed Göbekli Tepe is more than 11,000 years old, they know for sure that's not true.
Okay, but now I'm talking about the pyramids of Egypt. I have the evidence, the written. We found everything about that. We know the dating. And I give you hundreds of evidence that this pyramid built by Khufu or Khufu.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm not saying it wasn't. What I'm saying is
any civilization older than we know,
older
we
and
have
still
no,
in the same spot.
We
How
have,
old
we have
does it
no,
go back?
We have no evidence.
So how does ancient Egypt emerge?
Emerge? We have.
How does it emerge and go from zero to pyramids?
Okay, we have. Do you have? Can you listen to me?
Yeah.
We have prehistoric Egypt.
Right.
And we have the old Stone Age, Middle Stone Age, Neolithic, when the Egyptians began to know about agriculture. And they began to live together in communities. Then after that, we came to the pre-dynastic, when a king called Narmer, in Dynasty 0, he began to make unification of the upper and lower Egypt, until one king called Mina or Horaha, who united completely.
And what year was this?
This is what was 3000 BC, 5,000 years ago. In a place called Abydos, they built huge mud brick tombs. Huge. From mud brick, no stones. And these tombs are created in a site called Abydos.
You know, what's really fascinating about this is that 500 years, you think about that, how different just modern civilization was 500 years ago. 500 years ago, we had almost none of the inventions we have today. We had no internal combustion engine, no hardened steel, none of the things that we have. And now look what we have with electronics. Now imagine what the Egyptians were able to do in 500 years in a different way, in construction with stone. That their advancements weren't like our advancements, but their advancements were equally spectacular, just in a different way. Do you base the dates on? Do you base it on carbon isotope?
No, we don't. We
No?
based dating on the evidence that we discover.
Right, but
Like
some of it
dynast-
is based on carbon, right?
No,
Carbon testing.
I don't believe in carbon date 14 at all.
You don't?
No.
Why not?
Carbon date 14 never give an accurate dating. And this is why I believe, when you discover something, if you discover a cemetery,
Right.
there is two types of datings. One called absolute dating, means that in this cemetery you have a name of a king and a date. This is absolute. But if you discover another cemetery and has no dates, then the best thing that we do is to find the artifacts in this cemetery and try to compare it with other dated cemetery, and you give a date for this.
But I'm curious as to why you're skeptical about carbon dating, because I think carbon dating is generally accepted as being accurate within a certain framework.
It is, but I never used it. And many people, very rare to use it in Egypt, because in Egypt, mainly, we have absolute chronology. We have absolute dating based on inscriptions.
Right, but I thought it was used in Egypt, like to measure wood that was in mortar. To date the Great Pyramid to 2,500 BC.
No, that was an experiment to date the pyramid. I think was about 2009. And it's not working.
But
I didn't see the result.
You haven't seen a result on carbon testing of the mortar of the Great Pyramid?
No, but the mortar, you can't. One thing, the mortar between the stones.
Right.
This mortar, like if you take a piece of stone from the pyramid and you try to take carbon-14, this piece of stone could be thousands of years in the quarry. It cannot date the pyramid. How can you date?
Hold on. You don't date stone.
I'm saying if you date mortar.
Okay.
How can you say accurately that this mortar is dated to the same time of building the pyramid?
Well, you can actually. That's the argument, is that there's probably repairs done, right? And so
of the pyramid?
Yes.
No, of the Great Pyramid, there's no evidence
repairs,
of any
there's
restoration.
No renovations, no restoration,
never,
nothing?
Never any accurate evidence that the pyramid was restored in any period of the Egyptian history.
Let's go to the pyramid itself. So you have a very fascinating hypothesis as to what the pyramid, or theory, as to what the pyramid actually was. And it's based on where the supposed king's chamber is, where those passages go through into it. And what do you think that thing was?
Well, my first book pretty much describes what I thought it was in 1998, which was a power plant. The book is entitled The Giza Power Plant. My second book has evolved, and I describe it as an electron harvester. So, it's kind of like, you could describe it as both, but and today, when you do, people in any decade, they think of a power plant and they see these huge chimneys with smokestacks
or a nuke plant.
Yeah, or a nuke plant. A power plant, dirty, nasty, unclean. But an electron harvester, clean, pollution-free, not a problem.
Has that been achieved conventionally? I mean, today? Is there a thing called an electron harvester?
I think that actually, when you look at a generator, that's an electron harvester, because we don't create electrons. We just harvest them. It's just how we do it. And so, when you say an electron harvester, you could say that, say a wind generator. You have a windmill, and you have a generator inside it, and then you're collecting electrons off the commutator in a generator.
And that's where the electricity comes from.
And that's your electricity.
Right. Or hydroelectric, you'd use the flow of the water.
Yeah, you don't create you just release them.
You harvest it from a process.
You harvest them through a process.
And the process that you think they used in the Great Pyramid involved those shafts?
It involves a lot of things. Yeah, it's not just one single thing. It's a system, not a single thing. So when you look
Can we show a photo of that? Do we have a photo of the pyramids and the shafts and where the king's chamber is, I know you've described this before.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a photo of?
I do. It's in the.
I was trying to figure out which one you wanted.
Okay, this is perfect. This works.
Yeah,
so,
that works.
So these names, the king's chamber and the queen's chamber, you don't think that that's actually a king's chamber or a queen's chamber? You think it's something else?
Well, out of respect to the Egyptians, I
call it what they say
call
it is.
them. Yeah.
Okay.
But I do have a different terminology for them as they function.
Now, the initial surface of the Great Pyramid is covered in smooth limestone, right? So it's polished and shiny, and apparently it would collect insane amounts of light.
The outer surface of the Great Pyramid mostly is missing, and,
right?
But it has been described as if it was finished, and depending on the polish that it received, yeah, it could reflect a lot of light.
Do you think that had something to do with the design of this power plant?
I don't think there's any part of that pyramid that did not serve a practical function.
Okay, so this is the image that you have here, and what this image shows us is the King's Chamber, the various shafts, the southern shaft, the northern shaft, and these shafts have been described as portals to stars because people have looked up through there, and you go through the shaft, you see stars. But what you're saying is something entirely different. What do you think these shafts were for?
Well, I think they serve two different purposes. Actually, four different purposes, if you will, because in the theory that I propose, which is, I don't know, it's a speculation, a theory. The whole process is kind of like a heuristic process where you're grabbing information, you're moving here. Doesn't matter what source you're getting it from,
right?
Because when you are looking for answers, you look everywhere. You try and find, you look everywhere. So when I was going through the process of like trying to figure it out, I was collecting information from everywhere. And one of for the southern shaft and the northern shaft of the Queen's Chamber, that was a huge mystery to me, and I tried to fit it into what were they doing? I mean, if you look at the details, the facts of their design and what the ancient Egyptians were doing, why they designed them that way, you have two conduits coming into a chamber, but they're not connected to the chamber. And we didn't even know they existed until 1872 or Wayman Dixon.
Can you show me that image again, please? So they're coming into the chamber, but they don't enter into the chamber. So they stop.
Their original design had the shafts ending 5 inches before coming into the chamber. So you had like 5 inches of limestone that was left in the block.
So did someone remove that limestone?
Yes.
Why did they do that?
Wayman Dixon, because they were examining the chamber and they were poking around. And Wayman Dixon, it is reported, so the legend goes, noticed a crack in the wall. And so he took a rod and pushed it through the crack. And the rod, it didn't meet any resistance. It kept going. So he had his a worker come in, Bill Grundy, with a hammer and chisel, and say, chisel the limestone around that.
God, people are stupid. So,
well, they did. Yeah, they didn't have ultrasonic thickness tests.
No, but still, goddamn, to have the arrogance to go and chip away at the pyramid because you're curious.
Look at how I don't care for revisionist historians because you have to consider what people were doing, their mindset in the day, and then I try to look at on the bright side, right? It's like I don't look at it as a negative thing because if somebody hadn't opened up those shafts, we wouldn't know about them.
Right.
And it's the same with the chambers above the King's Chamber. Without Howard Vyse and his military expedition blasting his way up into the pyramid, we wouldn't know about them either. You won't be. I mean, there's a lot there. I think there's a lot there right now, and it's being investigated now. But there's things that have been revealed through scanning, like muography, the Scam Pyramid Project. and they found that large void above the Grand Gallery.
Right.
And so,
which is larger than the King's Chamber, right?
It's longer than the King's Chamber, yeah.
And so is that's not even represented here on this?
It's about the size of the cabin on a Boeing 707.
Wow. So if these shafts came through and then they met limestone at the end, what do you think was going on?
In order to answer that question, I had to look at the rest of the pyramid. Okay, what was it doing, and how was it functioning? And so one of the key pieces of evidence that I used to propose a process that was going on is the northern shaft. And the northern shaft has dimensions and has an appearance that is similar to a waveguide that you would use for microwaves. And the dimensions of it would approximate the wavelength of hydrogen.
So explain a waveguide. How does that work?
Yeah, it's like a waveguide is to transmit microwaves, electromagnetic energy, in the microwave region, and it is passed more efficiently through like a tube or waveguide, and that's what they use. I mean, they're very complicated systems,
And so how did this represent, in your mind, what a waveguide looks like?
Actually, the idea of a waveguide came to me from a guy. We were talking about the pyramids, and I used to carry a schematic of the Great Pyramid in my back pocket, and I meet an engineer, and I go, hey, come here. I start going through. So what do you think about this? Because I was looking for answers, suggestions, brainstorming, anything, right? And it's like, so these shafts right here, and he looks at it, and he was into electronic engineering, and he's like, they look like waveguides to me. And I thought, well, that's interesting. They look like waveguides. Okay. What if they are waveguides? How did they function? I mean, what were they used for? What were they using waveguides for in ancient Egypt? And so I started to go down that rabbit hole, and that led me to the Queen's Chamber. I say, okay, waveguides. You need a medium. You need microwaves to go through a waveguide. What frequency of microwave was it, right? And you look at the dimensions, and you come up with a match for hydrogen. Oh,
how do you do that? How do you come up with a match for hydrogen through the dimensions?
Yeah. The wavelength of hydrogen is 8.309 inches, and the width of the northern shaft is 8.4 inches. And a waveguide generally has the wavelength and then about half of the wavelength in height. So it's a rectangular shaft.
Just like all the shafts are.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Queen's Chamber shaft is a little more square than the King's Chamber shaft.
So it had a different function?
Different function, yeah.
So these waveguides, you believe, what are they collecting, and where are they getting it from?
Good question, Joe. They had we are bombarded with microwaves every day. I mean, it's the signal from, they say, the Big Bang, and there's it comes from atomic hydrogen out in the universe, in outer space. But
so we're being bombarded, and you believe that these passages were collecting this.
Yeah. So anyway, so then you say, okay, if we build a device and we say, and we want to energize hydrogen, we bring it to a higher energy state, and just like in a laser, where you have microwave amplification through stimulated emission, right? So if we want to collect energy that is in a gaseous medium, say that is hydrogen medium, and the electrons in the hydrogen are pumped up to a higher energy state, and we want to collect the energy in that, introduce a microwave signal, direct it through that gas, and stimulate the emission of the energy, collect that energy, and shoot it up the southern shaft. And so that was like, okay, that might work.
So what kind of gas?
Hydrogen.
And so where are you getting the hydrogen from?
Queen's chamber.
So there's hydrogen in the Queen's chamber, and how does it get in there?
The shafts. But it doesn't come in as hydrogen. That's a part of the theory in the Giza power plant was there are two chemicals that are introduced into the chamber, and the chemicals mix and they boil off hydrogen.
And these chemicals are just coming from the radioactive waves of space?
No. The chemicals, I believe, are manufactured and delivered to those shafts and coming.
Okay.
Right.
So they add some sort of chemicals
Right.
to it,